My name is Tiffany Stewart, and it is such an honor to be with you all tonight. We are not here just to talk about a book, but to bear witness to a life. Tamika D. Mallory has stood on the front lines of justice, of love, of accountability for decades. Her newest book, I Live to Tell the Story, reminds us that revolution doesn't just happen in the fighting, but it happens in the healing and the courage to continue to walk in your purpose. Tonight, we're going to slow down and meet the woman behind the movement. And tonight is very intentional. We want this to be very intimate and powerful. Each of you is a voice in your community. Each of you is a leader in your community. And we just thank you for being here. And every one of you has a story to tell. You are not just spectators tonight. You are a part of this conversation. Please join me in officially welcoming Tamika D. Mallory. Okay, so let's get into it, all right? The title, I Live to Tell the Story. When I read that, it just felt like such a declaration. So can you tell us a little bit about how and when in the moment you knew you had to tell this story?
Well, first of all, thank y'all so much for having me, number one, and two, for waiting on me. I feel like I lived to get here today, which was very interesting. I know now much about the route from the Bronx to New Haven that I've not ever paid attention to before, but I'm very aware. And I'm excited to be here. You know, I am very much so a supporter of the work that happens here in New Haven, because I've been back and forth many times through my brother Scott Esdale and the NAACP chapter. And so I'm not all the way, new to the area. I know that there are many people who are up here fighting for justice and are a part of the movement for social justice and for change. And so, you know, I'm just grateful for all of you who showed up tonight to have this conversation. And also my cousin Ben back there, who thank you very much, cousin, for coming to be here as well. And so I Live to Tell the Story. That was not the name of my book originally. So as you mentioned, this is my second book. The first book that I see you all have, which is State of Emergency, was inspired by a viral speech that I gave in Minneapolis when George Floyd was killed. And when after making that speech and the whole thing that happened, the story, goes that I went from 200,000 followers to over 1 million people in like 5 minutes as I was in the process of speaking. And when I finished talking, every single publishing house you could think of in America was trying to get a book and at that time it was cool to be black, and everybody wanted to understand this racism thing that they seemed to not know existed prior to George Floyd being murdered. And so I did a deal with Charlemagne of God, who was my brother, my great friend. I was the first book on his imprint. So he started an imprint during that time called Black Privilege Publishing through Simon & Schuster. And we, did a deal, and I ended up being his first book. And of course, if it was up to me, I would have had him do like Taraji or somebody like that, but he was very committed that he wanted it to be me. And that's something that I'm grateful to him for. And so it was a 2-book deal. And the first one, State of Emergency, we knew what it would be about, talking about the movement and America, my prescription for America, and, really just analyzing where we stand, especially with allies. What does that really mean? So that was, the first book. And then the second book was supposed to be called Until Freedom. And it was more biographical. That is, my organization's name is Until Freedom. The concept was more biographical, but it was still heavily focused on like being on the ground in the midst of these movements and just kind of, looking at the struggle for justice through the lens of a person. I think what they wanted was to kind of talk about as you fight, what are some of the human things that goes on? So it made sense at first. But after they went through the experience with me, because the editors were involved in the first book, and that first book we did in less than a year, which is unheard of. The writing, everything that was going on. We were living in Kentucky, fighting for Breonna Taylor. We were under surveillance, police surveillance, white supremacist surveillance. I mean, it was everything you could think of that it was happening to us. Black op helicopters outside of our home, people calling the hotel, threatening our lives, folks pulling out guns. I mean, we were going through hell, and they were still like, you have a writing session from 3 to 5:30, and we've got to get her in the car, you know, and I would throw tantrums and fits and get sick on purpose, you know, anything I could do, because it was so annoying. But I was living it, and what I didn't realize is that they were living it also. So they were like, oh my God, that really happened to y'all today? Or I would be like sitting in the SUV doing my editing and writing, and at the same time while I'm doing that, you hear people outside like, oh my God, run, go. And they're like, what is happening to you? Like, really, what is going on, you know? Or I would stay behind while everyone else went out to do the marches. And then when I get off the phone with them, they turn on my live, like the writers, the editors, everybody would turn on the live, and they see me having left the place where they know I was quietly, and then joining my people in the middle of like craziness going on, things on fire, people running, and they're just like so mesmerized that this is happening, and they're living it every single minute with me. And so what was supposed to be this book that was all about, you know, the movement became more all of them being concerned about my actual life. They were like, this is too much for any one person to have to deal with. And eventually I disclosed that I had an addiction issue, and I had been taking pain pills. So all of this happened, and they said, you've got to write a memoir. And just to close this up, I was like, you can't write a memoir when you're 40 something years old, because like I need to be able to tell the truth about what people did to me. You know, I was like, I want to say this person specifically stepped on my toes, upset me, you know, whatever. And I was like, you need to be like 75, you know? And when you get to that age, then you can kind of be like, who gonna check me, boo? You know? And they were like, nope, we want this now. And so what was Until Freedom changed to it being a memoir. And the final piece to how the name came to be is that I didn't believe I could write a memoir. And I kept telling them, you guys are like gonna have me out here looking crazy. And so they were like, you have to write this outline. And so that's what I was focused on every day, filling in all these questions. They would say, when I was, 12, my room looked like blank. And I'm like filling out all of this stuff, and they're helping me put this piece together. It was 800 pages of outline, just stuff scribbled everywhere. And when I went through it and began to read back to myself my story, I said, I can't believe I lived through all of this. And that's how the name of the book came to be. It's a long story, but you need all the context in order to understand.
And let me tell you how fitting that title is. When I read the book, there were two things, right? One of the things that stuck out to me is you referenced a book called The Coldest Winter Ever.
Right.
And if you've ever read that book, you can't put that book down.
That's right.
Now, let me tell the truth. I read this book, right, to have this conversation with you, but I could not put the book down. I literally, when the recounting of all the things you've been through, your experiences, like the rawness of it, everything about it, honestly, when you have your books, start them tonight. Yeah. You will really see that this title was so fitting. Did you imagine, like, going back to you as a young girl growing up in New York City, that you would have this level of impact one day? Or was it something like that was kind of revealed to you over time?
Well, so I always knew there was power in my little bitty voice, because a lot of people didn't like me, adults. And I used to say, there's something weird about like why these older people don't like me. And I didn't know it was called power. I didn't know that it was influence. I just thought that something was wrong with me. But I always knew that I could say something and it's such a big deal. Like everybody else in the room said this too. But for whatever reason, when I say it, now my mom's got to get called and, you know, and just to give you context on my parents, and Ben knows this, my parents would show up to school with a dashiki on and a kufi and the big, you know, earrings of Africa. Like my parents were so super duper black, which probably in hindsight wasn't really helpful, because what happened was that they already had a preconceived notion about my family. I went to Catholic school, that we were like, we thought we were better than other people, or at least that we thought we were like important black people. And they didn't like that. They liked the kids who being black to them was kind of like a scarlet letter. Like you had to be quieter and, you know, dim your light. And that wasn't my family. My family was very bold, except when my mother used to tell me, go to that damn school and do whatever those people tell you to do and don't have them calling my phone while I'm at work. She would say that, but then they didn't raise me that way. So it was very what do you call it? When it's like, you can't, it's hypocritical to me, because I was being raised in a family that was like this, and then she's telling me to go to school and come down here, you know. So, but you know, and so I knew something, because I know that I could raise my hand and be ignored all day, but other people that didn't even know the answer would constantly get picked up. And in fact, I remember sitting in a room one day, hearing a teacher tell my mom she always has an answer. It was like a problem for them. But really, I was just a leader. I was smart, and I didn't know that, but I knew there was something about me. And so what ended up happening in my life is that I ended up trying to suppress it as much as possible so I could be liked, so that I wouldn't be a problem. So I tried to shrink as low as I could. And then that turned into getting in trouble, doing other things, just so that people would not see me as this girl coming out of this strong black power family. I just wanted to be like Hood Gina. You know what I mean? I wanted Tamika, my name, to be like for real, like Tamika from the projects. You know, they were like, it means a black princess. I'm like, I don't want it to mean that. You know, so I went through a long period. So to answer your question, there was something there, but the impact of a voice and all of that, it took a long time to bring me back to a space where I realized that there was a leadership quality about me that not everyone has.
Yeah. That's a powerful answer. In the book, there are sections where people describe working with you and your friendship, and the common theme that I saw was you being superhuman. Just a person who continually showed up, pushed, kept on going, didn't let people down. I mean, when no one else showed up, Tamika showed up. And it carried this armor of like being unbreakable, resilient, and at the same time, you give us a context in this book of like, when you take that armor off, but what does it feel like to carry an image that's so strong and so powerful? Even now, people probably still see you in this way, even with you having wrote the book and talking about some of the things that you've been through.
I think we do a disservice to leaders when we start saying superhuman, because it can't be further from the truth. I always make people laugh when I say, you know, I've been on the big stages in front of hundreds of thousands of people speaking, and all I'm trying to figure out is the boyfriend that I'm looking for, did he call me? You know what I'm saying? Like, after it's over, I'm like, you didn't call? It's really over? You know, like human stuff, like regular things that everybody else goes through, and people would never, they don't remember that about me. And I understand why my friends say it, because they see me like keep going. Like as I was coming up here, of course, you know, I'm saying it all nice to you all, like, oh, I learned a lot about the ride, but I was on the phone like, God damn it, you know, talking to my colleagues and my assistants and different people. And when I finally made it, my assistant said to me, I just don't know how you do all of this. Like, she's like, I'm ready to go to bed right now. I cannot believe that you were on the road all day after you did this and this and that and the third. And so people see you do that and they think like you're like Teflon. But the reality is that when I go home, the back, the leg, the knee, the heart, the headaches, the anxiety, and all of that stuff is still there. Hence the reason why I ended up getting addicted to pain pills, because I'm trying to be superhuman, and started trying to numb that realness that's happening so that I could keep going. And I think and this is really important to say, what happens is that when people have an impression of you that you are without vulnerability, they find it easier to attack you. So, you know, people come on my social media and call me like the dog of the night, you know, anything you could think of, all kinds of black bees, or they'll threaten your life. They tell you, you know, if I could, I would kill you if I see you. And they say it and have no idea that stuff sits in your spirit, you know, and maybe they don't care, but I think some people really just don't even think about it. It is as if they think they're talking to a wall, and I'm actually like a human person. And so when you ask the question like how, no, I don't always do well. There are days when it's pretty rough to get up. There are days when, you know, you don't want to show up, like, right? But you have no choice because this is the situation we find ourselves in. And I'm gonna tell you the truth, I'm constantly thinking like, can I just get a job? Like, is there any job that I could go to and be in my cubicle or in my office at my desk and do the thing, like make the stuff, like give me something to create? You know, like when I was younger, my brother's wife used to make the games that's on the table at like Cracker Barrel and all those places, you know, a little thing you stick it in, but you have to actually put the stickers on the stuff, and you know, it's an assembly process because it comes in like a package with the little pegs, and then you got to take them out and do the thing and put the so and when we were kids and that was her job, she used to of course bring it all home and we would help. And everybody would be working on like a little assembly in the house doing this thing. At the time, I thought to myself like, wow, this is whack. Like, you know, this is what you do. Like, you make these things. She was young, you know, of course, it was a good job at that time. But as I've gotten older, I appreciate that little thing right there, that little process. And I be just saying to myself, like, do they still make this thing? Like, can I do that? And is there a way for me to make money? Can I create something? Because godly, having to get up every day, especially in the environment we're in now, you don't know when you turn the TV on what the problem of the moment is. You got people calling you this thing, this one shot, that happened, this thing. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's not, and you make it look good, and that's the problem, is that black women know how to get up and fix up and make ourselves look cute. So people are like, oh, we could just pile more and call more and send more messages, and it takes you to have a breakdown for folks to be like, oh shoot, it's actually too much. Wow. So I'm not doing it that well all the time. I'm better now because going through rehab was necessary so that I could understand that taking care of myself was more important than anything else, you know, and now that I have that as a priority, it gives me a trigger of when it's time for me to pull back. And that's something that took a long time to develop.
So as a black woman leader, what does rest look like in a world that does not give us permission to stop?
Yeah. Thankfully, and unfortunately, now that my family members have gone through the awful realization that I had to go to rehab, like, if you know, just to give you a little quick snippet on that, it was like 2 days before I was leaving, and I'm calling my father and my mother and my sister and different, you know, a small group of people, saying I'm leaving in a couple of days to go to rehab, and they like, what are you talking about? They had no idea. They didn't even know they didn't even understand that. They knew I was stressed because I was down to 98 pounds, but I was literally taking like 20 pills a day. And they had no idea that this was happening. So to learn out of nowhere that I'm running to go check myself into a program in a different state, they don't know the information, they don't know anything. You can imagine that for people who are always worried about me, this was like traumatizing for my whole family. So now the problem is that they think that they're gonna miss it again. So I got it, my sister's like in my house, like, let me look in your eyes. Let me see, how are you feeling today? And I'm having to be like, girl, if you don't get out my face with this. But they're worried, they're concerned because they missed the signs in the past. And I could have been dead. And they, God bless that I'm not, but it could have happened. And so the rest component comes in now because we have restructured the way we see this work. I used to work for 22 hours straight. I would go to sleep for 2 hours, especially when I worked for Reverend Sharpton. I would go to sleep for 2 hours on the couch in my office and get up and be back at it. And to us, that was showing your commitment to this work. Like you were a leader in our minds. It's a total ass backwards way of thinking that if you stayed up and didn't sleep and you were an overachiever, that made you a good leader. And meanwhile, just breaking down day by day, And so the way that we now have restructured life is that when we get to a city, if my crew was here, we'd be like, where's the nearest, I don't know, whatever, maybe the strip club because they got good wings, so that might be, but whatever. We'd be like, where does Miss Ann cook? Like, that's where we want to go. We want to go to the local joint. We want to maybe catch the spa in the morning. Like, we had to start seeing self-care as a part of the process versus thinking that every time you go to the gym, I need to be on my phone running. Now it's like, put the phone down, do the workout. They'll be okay. You'll get back to it. But that all happens, unfortunately, when you find yourself at the tip of the iceberg. And so now it's my ministry to go around and tell people, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, because you don't want to be where I was. I was in a rehab with all white people. There was one black person there who was a nurse, or she was something. She used to come with medicine, and she would be in the facility for maybe an hour. Everybody else was white, Asian, and one other person. Me, Tamika Mallory, the super black girl, was in Ohio somewhere in the backwoods with all white people around me on drugs that they're giving me to help me get off the drug. I would sit there sometimes and be like, you cannot make this story up. It's scary. I was isolated. I never ever want anything like that to happen to me in my life again. And so if I don't take care of myself, I don't know, then, because it might not be pills, but then it's alcohol, and then it's this, it's that. So you have to really be mindful about watching yourself and not allowing that slope, to happen. Because I didn't wake up in the morning and say, I'm gonna get addicted to pills. It was 1, and then 2, and then 5, and then here we go, 20 in a day. So I don't play around with not taking care of me anymore. And that doesn't mean I'm not still stressed, overworked, the whole thing, but it's just different. I know when it's time to say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna call y'all back because this is too much. I know when to say this is too much. That became, and you'll hear me say that a lot, because this is too much became something that my therapist made me start saying, this is too much. Because I used to say, I got it. And I didn't. I didn't have it at all.
How many people can say that and mean it? This is too much.
Yeah. This country is too much. The news is too much, social media is too much, the kids are out of their mind too, and they too much. Like, it's too much going on. Your nervous system can't be stable in the environment that we're dealing with.
Literally, I want to say 2 days ago, right? Hampton, so New Haven and Hampton border each other.
Yeah.
There was an ICE raid. I think 7 or 8 people were taken away.
Wow.
Just right in our neighborhood. And when I think about that, I think about privilege. And I went to a conference last week in Atlanta, and somebody said privilege is something you think isn't a problem because it isn't a problem for you.
Right.
And even when we think about privilege and how layered it is, even within our own communities, it could be disguised as silence, right? As comfort. How do we challenge privilege? How do we show up? What do you say to that? I know how you do it, right? We know how you do it. This is what you are famous for. Other people, what kind of conversations have you had with other people who may not be as bold as you, who may not feel as powerful or called to do the work?
Well, I mean, some people just they're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to accept that as well, because that was one of the list of things that I ended up having to write down when we would go to therapy while I was, again, back in rehab. They would say, let's write down all the stuff that bothers you, right? And one of the things that bothered me was that I don't understand why we all can't do a thing. You know what I mean? Like, what is wrong with us that we all can't make the decision that this is wrong and we're all gonna do the same thing? Why is that? That bothers me, because I know that what we're saying is right. Like, this is what we should be doing. And everybody's got an opinion and a thing and a decision that's different, and we believe this and that and the third, and next thing you know, nobody does anything, right? And that's really stressful for me. I still struggle with that today, because I'm like, I don't know why I don't know why anybody needs to go to Target. There is a boycott that is happening against Target, and you do not need anything from over there. There is a hardware store in your community, and nobody told you to stop buying stuff off Amazon, which you should, but nonetheless, we didn't say Amazon. We said Target. We didn't say Walmart. They're worse than Target, but we didn't say them. We said Target. You don't need anything from Target. I don't understand why we can't just make up our mind that, you know what, we're in a time where we actually have to flex our muscles and show that we have power. Mm-hmm. And power requires you to be disciplined. And sometimes when you have to be disciplined, it is an inconvenience. And that's what most people do not like. They don't like the inconvenient part of having to use their privilege, right? Because, especially for us as Black folks, it's kind of like, when we get the little bit of stuff we have, somebody come, we go to Target, we there for 4 hours, we buy stuff we want, we spend money we're not even supposed to spend, sneak the bags into the garage so nobody knows what you got, that's a privilege to us. So now you're telling me that because of this other thing, I have to give up a comfort in the midst of everything else. I'm going to work, I'm being mistreated, I'm having all these issues, microaggressions, everything else. And the one thing I do is go to Target and get me a little Starbucks. And now you're going to tell me we boycotting Starbucks too, because another thing, it's just too much. I just can't. I can't do it. It's too much. I can't do it. That's where most people are. And the discipline that we have to show is not always comfortable either, because it feels like I tell people don't tell me what the brand did, because I don't want to always know. I want to wear my whatever it is, and here you come telling me like Lululemon. I love Lululemon. That's the one little thing that I get to do. I wear Lululemon every day. That's my thing. Here they come sending me all these videos. The Black girls, they were arrested, they didn't steal anything, then another Lululemon store, then this happened, and then something happened to the immigrant community. I said, why me? Why me? Don't tell me. Damn. And that's because the way my mind is wired, I can't even walk back into the store. You know, I'm almost one of those people that putting it on thinking I shouldn't even be wearing it. Not everyone is wired that way. A lot of people our individualism has set in as the order of the day. We don't have a community-oriented mindset that's like, if it's happening to her, then it's happening to me. And generally, we're not moved in that direction until it happens to us. So at first, when they were saying, that there was an attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then we said, okay, Target should never have joined that movement. And so we said, we're boycotting Target. Many people, by the way, 350,000 people signed up to be a part of the effort. When that happened, you had people to say, well, for various reasons, I don't understand why I have to participate in that. I like my lip gloss from there. I like my so-and-so. I like my whatever, because we have a mindset that it's not important. And then the report came out to say that over 400,000 black women lost their jobs because of the attacks against diversity, equity, and inclusion. Then I started getting calls from people saying, I'm gonna organize outside of the Target. You tell me what they, cause this don't make no sense. I mean, what they do, I ain't even think DEI had anything to do with us. But now you know that it did. And so I don't know how to force people to get there, but I do know that even in a small group of 5 people or 10 people, you've got to be focused on that group versus trying to kill yourself getting 80 people who may not join you. And that's and I mean that's life-saving advice, by the way. That's life-saving advice that we often, this room might make somebody upset. That, oh, well, I thought I was gonna come in and it's gonna be 500 people and people all lined up outside. This room is what I need, because I know that there's a strong 10 people in here who are gonna be like, okay, what's the action steps and what can we do in New Haven to connect to the rest of the movement, versus a whole bunch of people who are showing up because somebody's gonna be there, Beyonce, that they wanna see. So I learned a long time ago to flip my mindset that sometimes the smaller room is where you actually get the most committed individuals.
Let me just say, as helping with organize the event, that's something we thought about, right? There's another event happening tomorrow in Bridgeport with you. Yeah. And it's crazy because after reading your book, I'm like, that's not what she cares about. Right. Literally, you can feel that. That's not what she cares about. I'm so glad
to hear you say that came through for you.
100%.
Yeah,
it was like, no, this is going to be different, because when you have somebody who understands, right, the grassroots organizing movement, activism, who came from the background and the roots that you have come from, and who, you can tell what you value in your life through the book. You can tell that you value your family, your upbringing, the teachings, right, your even your roots going back to the church and different organizations that you learn different things from.
You really read the book.
I read that book.
Yeah. Read the book.
I read that book.
I can tell the difference. Sometimes when, I've been on this book tour since February, so I've been everywhere, so many places, and sometimes you could tell that a person didn't read it, like they chat GPT their questions, and I don't embarrass them, but I just know the difference. I know. Thank you.
It's a good book, y'all. It's a good book and a powerful one, and literally, life-changing, because when you really get, I want to make it very clear, when we think about Black history, this is Black history in the flesh.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Literally in the flesh, walking, living, breathing, and really taking the time to appreciate what Tamika gives. I remember being invited to, in essence, event this past year. And I remember the Target stuff, and I didn't know what to do. And I went on your page, it came across, right? It was you and Dr. Jamal Bryant.
Right.
You said, if you're going, you listed the things to do, why you shouldn't, and all that stuff. And honestly, the level of education, that's important, right? It's not just it's not, you can't do this. It's purpose over power, right? So it's not about not doing it. It's understanding why you should not, or if you do, how you should, carry yourself. And that was
Yeah.
really powerful. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I want to know, in your opinion, as a community, if we don't act in unity, what do you think the risk is?
Oh, don't worry about it. They're going to whip us up real good. Don't worry about it. We're getting ready to be more unified than we've ever been. Notwithstanding social media, because I have a lot of people that I work with who are like, multi-millionaires, if not billionaires, who are starting to do research on like what's happening online just for various reasons. It could be their own personal issues, attacks against them or whatever. But as they all are starting to do this research, they're finding that it's not random. Mm-hmm. It's very intentional. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of money behind misinformation and disinformation. And our communities are the most vulnerable, especially Black men, right? And so propaganda is probably the biggest obstacle that we have to unifying, just believing narratives. A friend of mine sent me a screenshot of another friend who's my real friend talking about me. And the friend who sent it said, I have to send this to you because I need you to know, one, that this person who you trust has gone off MAGA completely. And two, I just want you to see like what people, the narratives that are developing in their minds. And so this other friend was like, oh, they're paid protesters, it's fake. They're making more money than you and me, and they should think about. This is a Black person who is telling another Black person that if people are upset about deportation, maybe they should go to Africa. Like, just saying things that I don't know them to be that way, but I do know that the propaganda machine has been grabbing people and they're gone. It's like they go into a tunnel, a universe that you can't believe it. You're sitting there talking to your friend or your loved one saying, are you okay? Like, what are you saying? Where did you get this stuff from? Fox News and all of these things. And once they get hooked, it's just, that's it. And the person said, I don't know if they're using drugs. They're actually not. It's the drug is the propaganda. And so that's a big obstacle for us. The balance is that we have to be way more intentional about community spaces like this, knocking on our people's doors, talking directly to folks, just trying to pull them back out of the dark place, like reminding them that no, reality is right here. We can't be afraid to challenge these storylines that have developed. We have to be as public as they are about trying to confuse us as they are. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm saying. We have to do that. And unfortunately, the thing that I have tried not to do in the spirit of unity, even when we don't agree, is not to attack other Black people publicly. I try my best not to use social media as, public spaces to talk about other Black people. Even if I don't agree with them, I don't agree with anything that Floyd Mayweather has said, but I would never be online saying, I just don't do that. I don't know why he came to my mind, but I just use him as an example. It's just, I don't do it. But now we're at a place that's so dangerous that I gotta go wipe the floor with Stephen A. Smith because I can't just let this brother sit on TV filling other Black people's minds with lies, especially not about Jasmine Crockett, who, God bless, that we have her. She first, by the way, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is walking herself into the line of fire every day. Just like they shot crazy ass Charlie Kirk, which is terrible that it happened. I don't agree with it. I would never sit and say that's what needs to be done. That's not my thing. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think anything about him was good, but I still don't think that he should have been killed. I feel the same way about Jasmine Crockett. I know that if they'll do it to him, they'll do it to her, right? And so that makes me feel really, really, really protective when I hear people using large platforms to discredit her, because what happens is, and this is not what you asked me, but this is important. What happens, and I have been the target of this. Once they dehumanize you, it makes it easier for anything to happen to you. So when you sitting on TV like, oh, you know, she needs to be working with them, she's not doing this, and you're not bringing anything back for your constituents. When you start saying all of that, you have other people and some black men who start to be like, yeah, she ain't worth nothing. So then she's not worth protecting.
Exactly.
And that's very dangerous. So I'm saying all of this to say we're in a space now where we actually have to, when we hear something, do something about it. We got to use our voices. That's a lot of work, by the way. It's a lot of work. And the reason why we need that is because we have to get closer and not further apart, right? We're going to have to, the way in which this administration is attempting to dismantle our communities and to destroy any progress that we've made. They're being they wrote it in a 900-page document. This is not some stuff they came up with the night before or the night after the election, right? They have been working to figure out what does the demise of our communities look like for a long time. That's why they started with the anti-DEI stuff, because they knew that it would cripple black women, right? And our economic power. And now you start to see organizations are having to close. You know, people are not able to make their budgets. You've got big groups, big organizations with a lot of money starting to say, unfortunately, we can't fund you anymore. Like, there's a trickle down effect that's happening. So now, in order for us to build ourselves back from that, and by the way, every 100 years they come for us somehow, some way. You know, I mean, just think about Tulsa, Oklahoma. Like, they always try to find a way to unravel black progress. And when that happens, the only solution for right-siding it and going back in the other direction is we have to take care of one another. We have to be one another's mutual aid. We have to be one another's thought partners and start, groups, organizations, book clubs, everything to educate ourselves. We have to use church basements and, living rooms and functions to reimagine what does it look like to be successful, to hold on to what we have, and ultimately to take care of our children. So I don't think that we have the luxury of not being unified. And I also think that as more and more happens, as we see these very intentional moments taking place, that it's making more people who weren't paying attention, they're opening their eyes. I love the lady on the internet yesterday. I saw the video of the woman who I believe is Jamaican Caribbean woman telling the ICE agent, did you guys see that? Telling that ICE agent, UPUSSY. But she said something in that I thought was important. She said, it's a lot of people that's getting upset out here. And that makes me excited because I be sitting there waiting on y'all to be mad, because that's when I do my best work. I do my best work when the black people are mad. When the black people ain't really making noise, I can't do what I do. But when y'all get mad, then I'll be like, they got my back. Let me go out here and say the thing. I mean, here we are, right? Like, we're sitting in the middle of a moment where if you have any political power, you have to use it, right? Like, we don't even, and that's why I get so upset, especially with, the Democrats, baby, the Democrats. Some days I just want to lay down like a rug and just say, just forget it. Because it's like, get it together. Just get it together. It is okay to stand on business, right? And they starting to get it, because now I think what is happening is everybody is like, oh, wait a minute. We don't even have the courts in the way that we need them to protect us. Like, these people are not following the law. They are literally not following the law. But when we were telling folks, do not let Donald Trump be elected, right? Like, we were like, it's a bad idea. People would say back to me, oh no, he can't do that stuff because that we have laws that, and now those same people are calling me like, what?
Right.
Like we had, a celebrity said to me recently, I just did not know how fragile our democracy is, right? So I think even some of our elected officials are like, oh, we really have to fight you, like fight in the street type of fight. And you're starting to see, even with this shutdown, which is terrible, it is awful that the government is shut down and people are not going to be paid soon and all the things. But they had no choice. What else were they? They can't just keep capitulating and allowing this stuff to happen. They got to put their foot down somewhere. And it's an unfortunate situation. But when you think about Medicaid and Medicare being cut, there's a lot of things that you can cut that are devastating. So definitely, it's a lot of things you can do. You can cut the Department of Education, and that's horrible, but we know how to get a book and get in the kitchen and teach our own kids if necessary. But you cannot take care of yourself medically. Jeez. When people cannot get mental health services, when people cannot take care, they're watching a young kid watching their grandparent dying of something or getting sicker and sicker and can't, you think they just gonna sit there and just let that happen without there being a reaction, a literal chemical imbalance that goes off that says it's survival of the fittest. So the same kids that you might be helping with a program in the community will follow you home and kill you in your driveway.
Yep.
And who's to blame for that? So when they say we cannot allow Medicaid and Medicare to be cut, I get it. That's no joke. My mother had a stroke in 2020. She has to, in order for her to survive, she needs her medication. She needs her blood thinners so that she doesn't get another blood clot that goes to her heart. She needs her medication. I need my mental health medication. You know what I'm saying? That's a road going too far to play with that. And therefore I think that elected officials who have any slither of power, they have to use it. And now with the Supreme Court teetering around on potentially allowing all these maps to be withdrawn, which means that the Voting Rights Act will be gutted. And they will redraw the maps across the country. I think Roland Martin said that that if things go in their favor, they would be able to take 19 seats, which means that they would be in a forever majority. It would take an act of God to undo that. So the community or the people power, that even if the Supreme Court allows this to go forward and they do gut the Voting Rights Act, which is already on thin, a piece of thread. If they do allow that to happen, the only solution is for us and our allies and everybody to vote like we've never voted before.
Goodness.
And how do you do that to circle back when misinformation is telling you that you don't need to vote because it doesn't matter? We got some serious stuff that's going on here. And I try not to be heavy in these conversations because people be like, okay, godly, like she came here to try to scare us. But it feels like a room where you can say, this is really, it's not a game. Like it's really, really serious. These folks are attempting that 900-page document. The period at the end of it is really saying we're going to restructure this society where white men have all the power and the rest of you work for us and you are enslaved to our wishes. That is what they are attempting to do. And it is happening minute by minute by minute by minute. And so, we all we want to do boots on the ground and, we doing the dances and this line dance and we having a good time. We better pay attention real carefully to what's happening in this country because when Joe Biden said they trying to put y'all back in chains, people were upset about him saying that, but he really knew what he was talking about. He's talking about his homies and them that he was hearing what they talk about when we not there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Goodness. I don't even know what to say after that. That's heavy, and it's true.
It's real, Ben.
I got a question. Because it's like, with the administration going on right now, every day watching the news and Stephen A. selling people out and government this and that, and tired of Democrats also, they have no clear message. They're not sticking together at all. Be it Cory Booker, be it, there's no clear message. Nobody's sticking to. My thing is how Trump won was because he, like you said, he's talking to the people in basic English. So why not talk about food? Because food is ridiculous.
Right.
Not what I'm talking about. Start there. When you keep, okay, healthcare is cool, but also add price of food, price of electricity, so on and so forth. I don't want to interrupt anything, but just what she said, I don't want to get off something that's on my mind. But my one thing is, the way this country is going, I have a solution that would probably piss everybody off. I don't think you should never say it, but you can spread it behind closed doors. No blacks, go Spanish to the military.
No what now? Say no.
Blacks, go Spanish, no people of color in the military, period.
In the military?
Go fight.
Yeah.
Just let them go fight.
Yeah. But I would expand it beyond the military. I think if you ask me right now, if we all had to get up and say, what are we going to do right now? We got to do it. No, there's no more time to wait. We just can't. We have to not cooperate. We can't go to work. We can't go to work. We can't shop. We can't do nothing. Just got to shut the whole thing down. The one thing these people care about more than anything else is that we spend $1.4 trillion every single year in this nation, and they need every dime of it for them to stay in power. When those corporations start calling over to the White House saying, Donnie Boy, what's his name? What's Donald Trump? Yeah, old Donnie Boy. These people, the blacks ain't spending no money. That's when you're gonna start seeing people say, well, maybe we can't do this or that, we gotta try to see how we can. Y'all watch Elon Musk have a meltdown. When that Tesla stock started dropping, Elon Musk, because his board probably was like, what he doesn't need the money. But when you have a board of directors on your behind saying, what's going on here, you got to be able to answer to them, because that's the thing about boards, is they can oust you as the leader, of a company. They can oust you, and they have done it. This is a thing. They take your stuff over. So when we're seeing it, we're like, oh yeah, it's hurting Elon. No, it's not. He's dealing with business decisions, money that he's got leveraged out here for different things. And his stock started dropping. So then Trump had to go get him a Tesla and bring it down to the White House. I mean, you got to really pay attention to what happened in there. He went and got a Tesla and brought it to the White House and put it on the front lawn to say he loves Tesla. He probably never been inside of a Tesla in his life, probably don't even know how to open the door. But he knew that man's stock was dropping because people were responding to what was going on with them, with the Doge firings and all of that. So if I had to say what will be the thing that will wrap this right on up, is when people say, well, we just gonna stay at home. Can't pay rent, can't buy groceries, can't do it. You can't evict the entire, or everybody. You can't. It's just, it won't work that way. So I understand what you're saying about working together and their messaging. And I do think that this healthcare thing is one place that I have seen them like come together with a consolidated message. The problem with the Democrats is that we are the party for everybody. Everybody. We want the big tent. And that's cool. It feels good when you're winning. But when you lose and you realize that you got to narrow in on something so that people see themselves as part of the process and something to fight for. Donald Trump was not just talking regular English. He also said very clearly that his audience is the uneducated. That's what he said. He said the uneducated love me. And every person that I know that's down that tunnel with him, when you look at them, you like, yep, that sounds about right. This person is not that bright. And the problem with us, as not just black people, but just people who are upwardly mobile, is we think too much. We think too much. We make everything overcomplicated, right? Like, and I'm going back to the Target boycott. You don't understand. I got people calling me with the rubrics of reasons why. Well, I think if we don't do it, then this is going to happen. And then what about this person over here, this and that? But guess what? When Cracker Barrel took that cracker off that barrel, baby, listen to me. The conservative community did not say, well, who sells the syrup, and what about the candy and the thing, and what about the little pegs on the table? They didn't care nothing about that. They shut Cracker Barrel down that in 2 days, the stock dropped by 7%. They sold their stocks, and the company dropped $100 million in market share value. It took 4 days, and the cracker was back up on the barrel.
Yep.
Logo changed back.
Yep.
Because they are simple, and also diabolical. Mm-hmm. And we are good people. And sometimes being good people is what gets us in trouble.
Yep.
Is that we want to do the right thing all the time. I know I struggle with that. You know, people come to me, they like, we want to give you funding to do a project that I really need to do. But I'll be sitting up there like, no, because you said this, and then I don't know, I got to go read on the Google about what all the things and what you've been doing. And I think that's noble. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but what happens is that we find ourselves talking ourselves out of doing things we really need to do because we're trying to take care of everybody and be compassionate about everything. And I think what we got to recognize in this moment is that we're in war.
Yep.
And in war, there's casualties.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to transition to questions to open it up in 1 second. But I just want to, before we transition, I don't want anyone to walk away without getting hearing directly from Tamika about two things. One is for anybody who's feeling called, right?
Please. The doors of the church are wide open. We need laborers, honey, laborers.
What is one step they could take because they don't know where to start? And then two, we want to know about Until Freedom, what's next, and how to stay connected with you.
Read this book is one thing you should do. Not because it's my book. Just telling you, this book is loaded with how to be a good ally, how to get started. You know, again, that feeling of being called. Like, I want to get out there. I want to understand more about the movement, you know, and where we stand. And by the way, my second book, people, you know, I'm speaking everywhere about it because obviously that self-care component is deep, and there's a lot of people who need the information. You'd be surprised how many people look buttoned up and they're dealing with addiction. That's a real thing that I didn't know was as severe as it is, especially among Black women. Because addiction is not just drugs, it's sex, it's men, it's what women, it's, you know, it's shopping, it's eating, it's so many things. So that's one. So that book is doing its own thing. This book is selling again. We're seeing like everywhere that the book is sold, the numbers are increasing of people who have been buying it because right now we're in a state of emergency, right? And so I would say get the book, read it, make a lot of notes, think about what's the one thing you can do. Don't go trying to figure out how to start the new movement, right? We got enough organizations, enough people who are doing the work. It's just one thing you could do. If you're an accountant, take those accounting skills into an existing structure and help people think through right now, how do we sustain ourselves in this time when funding may not be as it has been? What can we do to tighten up and to stay around for, you know, the next 3 years? I don't know. That's not a thing. Something is going to have to happen before 3 years, but that's a different day. That's a meeting without the camera. So you want to try to figure out where can I make impact? What's the one thing that I can do and I can be really good at it? I can host meetings, right? And make it simple. I can literally open up my house to have 6 people come here and meet about how we take care of ourselves in this community? Or are we gonna say we're no longer shopping at Home Depot or this place or that, wherever place you choose, right? And we can start organizing here. You could say, I'm gonna register everybody that I can think of. Like we're not gonna wait until it's fire drill organizing. You know, that's the democratic process. The Democrats, they wait until 3 months before and everybody is everywhere running and screaming about we gotta win. Right now, you could say, I'm gonna start registering, I'm carrying voter registration cards in my car. And every time I see a group of young people, I'm gonna go up and say, hey, are you registered to vote? I can give you a card, you know, right here, right now. Maybe on a Saturday, I'll take 2 hours to go by a store and sit outside and do that. You can do that without being called. It's just, you can call yourself. What did Michelle Obama say? She said when she was speaking at the DNC, she gave that fire speech. You could tell Michelle tired. Michelle said, don't wait for nobody to call. Consider this right here your invitation. I'm telling you, you're needed. Don't wait, because you know us, we'd be like, ain't nobody asked me to come over. Now, you know. So I would say read the book and then also think about what's the one thing that you can do, because that one thing will get you connected to people, and the next thing you'll be on 10 things. But just start with one thing that you can do. And then what was the next question you said?
Until freedom.
Oh, Until Freedom, beginning January, we are going to be launching a campaign called Vote for Freedom. And if you see me in my house in New York, then you know we failing. Because I intend to leave my house on King Day of January 2026, and I ain't coming back until we win the midterms, right? Like I ain't coming back home. My grandbaby is 3. I'll see her when I can. I'll be back. We'll be back by the time she turns 4. Because it's going to take that type of commitment. And I'm not saying I'm going to go kill myself. I'm just saying we're going to set up shop in communities across the country, and we are going to challenge misinformation. We're going to register people to vote. We're going to spend the money allowing people to organize themselves, because these small groups that are having to either close their doors or rethink whether or not they can continue to do community work, they need resources. And as much as I can raise using my privilege and my platform, we intend to go out and empower grassroots groups to do what they do and to keep their work going, so that so that we have a fighting chance. Yes. So if you want to be supportive of us, you can donate to Until Freedom at untilfreedom.com. We appreciate that. Y'all might be the ones that want to wait until January 15th when you see us outside. That's okay too. Just don't forget. You can follow us to be supportive, but also you can start saying we're going to organize ourselves so that New Haven is one of the places that we come to. In the midterms, yes, the swing states are always important. Everybody's going to go to the swing states. But right now, what we need is just a majority vote. So that means that the whole country has to be organized. Imagine that generally you have a certain amount of states that you need to focus on. It's much more work when it's the whole country, it's all the states that we have to hone in on. So that's what we're doing. Vote for Freedom, and you can support Until Freedom to help us do our work.
All right, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna open up for questions. I know people probably have burning questions, so I see hands. Nope.
No, there was back here, this young lady.
My question is, nowadays I feel like white people aren't our biggest problem as what is the consensus that's a big tech or big companies or capitalism is being screwed to the extent that it is overbearing, that businesses are what is suppressing black community so, and especially us. So how do we combat that? Because it seems as if even when it comes to homeowners, it's big companies that are owning the homes.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's not a group of people anymore. I feel like that entity just changed and shifted to something else.
Well, I appreciate that, and you're right. It's way bigger than just looking at a group of white folks. Like it's way bigger than that. And in fact, tomorrow, the No Kings March is going to basically show probably millions of white folks around the country who are saying no to this stuff, you know. And it's always been that way. When I led the Women's March, we had some of them were very problematic, but the majority of the white folks that were in, white women especially, who were in the Women's March were people who really understood the trajectory towards fascism that we were on. And so the allyship piece is really important. That we have to find not just allies, but accomplices, like people who are ready to go to war with us in this moment. And so I agree with you. I would say, however, the companies don't exist by themselves. They have owners, they have programmers. People always tell me, oh, those comments are fake, they're bots. I'm like, no. There's somebody that is working the machine, putting in what the words are supposed to be and shooting it into the comments of certain people's pages. It's a programmer who's behind it. I don't know many black people that are doing that. So let's not be confused that there is still a group of white folks who seek to oppress our communities, and there is a reason why they want to do it. It's not even all the time just because they hate us so much, which yes, there is a hatred for black people that is like unlike anything else in the world. But part of it is about the fear of losing power, right? And so when you're trying to hold on to power, it doesn't matter what the person looks like. You will hurt your own people. And that is what they're doing, because 60% of the workforce in the federal government that is not getting paid in this moment is not black people. Even though within the federal government, black folks are another majority, right? And so when they fired, 90,000 people, a lot of black people were caught in that number. So I'm not saying that that's not the case, but if you have 60% of people who look like you in the federal government, and you start cutting to the point, you're not saying, well, we can't cut this because white folks will be hurt. They don't care about that. They want power. Guess who got 300,000 jobs? 365,000 jobs is the last report that I saw. So almost 400,000 black women went out of the workforce. Guess who went back in? White men.
Wow.
White men.
Wow.
365,000 roundabout white men gained employment since January, while almost 400,000 black women went out of the workforce. So that tells you right there what your power dynamics are. And it doesn't mean that you need to be running around looking at every white person saying, is it you? Is it you? Like, that's not, we don't got time for that, because there's some of our own that are extremely problematic as well. But what we do have to understand is that power, right, which we know power concedes nothing without a demand, but power is shaping up in this nation, and it looks like authoritarianism. It looks like a dictator. It looks like a king. And it doesn't really matter what their skin color is. What matters is that whoever the team that they have assembled is a team that is looking for power more than they're looking for color. And you gotta guard yourself, young black man, against that you stay out of trouble and stay out the way. I'm serious. Because they steamrolling over our people. And what we don't want to see, this whole ICE/military going into communities is all about putting as many of us back in the system, because too many of us have been released. Too many of us are doing well. Too many of us are being successful. So when I say power, in order for you to be powerful, you need minions. You need people to work the fields. You need people to go back to having to work in the prisons and privatize, prisons. And I'm sure you're doing a great job. You're here with us tonight. But just keep that in mind as you move about in the world. This ain't no joke. Sorry.
No, that was powerful. Yes. Okay, so
she wanted to ask.
Yes, so here's what we're going to do. Promise we'll get to everyone's questions. I'm going to let you ask a question.
Right, and then everybody.
Yes,
and then I answer.
We'll transition to the book signing, and then everyone else will ask their
Cool,
questions.
that's good.
All right. So I know you've been waiting, so go ahead.
Okay, so we love you.
Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate
We
you.
love you. And I'm so glad you're here. What I want to say, I'm a school administrator as the assistant principal. And I was going to say that I'm noticing, like a lot of our young people have no clue, right? And in addition to that, our older people are not angry enough. So there's no communication about what they need to know. Like I had a young man, it was like, they don't even want to talk about this.
Right.
This is not in their world. I think there's been that gap. I'm older. I might look younger. I'll be 60 real soon.
Wow.
6 months.
Wow, God bless. God bless.
So listen, but what I'm saying is I'm from that age where you have that, when you knew things were happening, right? And then you have the other age who does not know. So I don't know how we actually can merge that.
Yeah.
Because they're like, why are we so upset?
Right.
Why am I so upset? You know, my son, he's 32. He's very knowledgeable because he got his mama. But you know what I mean? Like, but they still,
oh yeah.
No one is angry enough.
Yeah.
When you said about the black woman in New York, I was like, go ahead, sister.
That's right.
That's what I want to see, because if you look around everywhere, we're so busy, and I'm in a whole bunch of different organizations. I'm trying to, like monitor, like, do I still be social like I'm supposed to?
I know.
You know?
That's so hard.
But then in the same token, I'm thinking, I'm always, people don't know, I'm on Facebook all the time talking about wearing my spiky hat I had from way back on in Brooklyn where it says wake up. Like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Because we are not nowhere near as angry or upset as we should be. And I know you said about the power perceives nothing, and I always follow that when you agitate.
That's right. I saw a meme the other day that said, Americans are gravely underreacting to what is happening in the country. And I said, this is my quote. Like, I could have wrote this. Sometimes I'm out and I want to enjoy myself. I'm not going to live my life every minute. I'm just, that's why the people don't invite me to stuff now. My own family members be like, she don't need to come. I look up on Facebook. I'm like, wow. I'm fun, but they don't want me there because I come there and I start going, did you register? And then I'm over in the corner talking and getting upset. And, nobody want to deal with that all the time. But then when I'm out trying to enjoy, I just look around. I'm like, is it me? Like, y'all just don't, there's like nothing happening, huh? Like, you just literally, my cousin said to me the other day in a text message, she said, this is one of Ben's cousins. She said, I said, this country is so crazy. And she said, I pray for you every day. And I said, that's interesting. Then she said, and I can imagine how crazy the country is. And I'm just thinking to myself, you really don't see yourself as like in the center of this. Yep. You think this is some stuff that Tamika and them done made up, or not even made up, but y'all are over there dealing with it. What do you mean you can imagine how, do you read anything? Do you see what's happening? But it occurred to me that I'm hypersensitive and other people are just trying to survive. And we cannot hold them responsible for trying to figure out every day, how do I get up and just pay my bills? How do I keep my mental health? Ravel the Voting Rights Act. It's like, what? That's just too much information. People really literally can't handle it. And I have to remind myself that all the time because I think I'm losing my mind. I do. I think I'm losing my mind when I'm somewhere and if we had a boots on the ground night here tonight, it would be packed up the wazoo. But when you try to get people together to talk about what we do in this nation, they like, that's just not my issue. And I get it. And I wish I had the answer because I feel like I would get the Nobel Peace Prize for real if I knew how to say like, what's the thing. What I will say is that I meet young people every day who know very well what's going on. They're very much aware, but they think of the world differently. So in their mind, which they about to learn something, a lot of young people made money on TikTok, right? Like TikTok became a little form, you know, you can get you $1,000 a month. These kids have learned how to use social media. They've learned how to work with their hands, make things, do videos, putting their makeup on. But you see these people are now, they bought TikTok and they're gonna change. Because again, it's like, this is too long, but I have to say, it's like you go to the carnival and you know how the heads pop out and then they just keep pop. That's what they're doing. They literally are like, oh, TikTok. Oh, that's where they make money.
Yep,
Pop. You know, and all I can tell you is that, you know, when Ben says kitchen table, you know, basic needs, unfortunately, it scares me to say it, but as people begin to see their pocketbook, like, because we're trying to tell you that there are things we can do before it gets there. We're trying to tell you, like, let's shake these companies up a little bit so they can be concerned. People are so caught up in, well, I got mine, I still have my job, I'm still doing, It's not gonna be until folks can't feed their kids. And that's when you'll see more of our folks. And we just got to be ready for when that comes. We have to build an apparatus that gives people intersectional points to join, that they can say, I'm in, let me do this or that. It's already too late, by the way. Jeez. It's already too late. But our history is of being a resilient people. And we will definitely overcome. But there's going to be some bloodshed in the middle of it. And that's the thing that worries me the most, is that I know when the young people in Chicago, you could see it in DC, how the young people start being like, oh no, we're not going to have this. And them ICE agents is out there knocking you over your head. So we unfortunately are going to go into a space where things are going to get really, really dangerous. And once we get there, I think that will be the moment when you'll see a majority of our people beginning to rise up. That's just what unfortunately, that's how I feel.
Wow.
Sorry.
We're gonna continue with questions and book signing. First, before we leave to do that, which will be, where will it be? Outside of here? Right here.
Oh.
Right in the back, so we can line up and do that. I just wanna say to the audience, to everyone here tonight, may we leave here convicted to move with purpose.
I love that.
And to Tamika, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, thank you for living to tell the story.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you.